I don't really want to make a video today. I mean, I'm not a fancy YouTuber. It doesn't matter if I make one or not, actually. Good morning. Welcome to my kitchen. Hi, guys. Happy New Year. Welcome to, if you're new here, welcome to Saturday Kitchen Conversations, where I stand in my kitchen and I talk about things that I want to talk about. And sometimes it's funny, and sometimes it's messy, and sometimes I cry, and sometimes I cook, and sometimes I eat, and most of the time I'm drinking coffee. Farm Strong coffee. Go get some. So yeah, we made it. It's 2022. I am cautiously optimistic that this year will not be a complete shit show. 2020 was a complete shit show. 2021 was a complete shit show. And yeah, so COVID is surging again with the Omicron variant. And so there's a lot of countries that have, put curfews in place and doing all these things and telling people to stay home and all this stuff. So I do hope that if you are in one of those places that you are okay, because psychologically this is exhausting. We're now going into the third year of this, so I totally recognize that this is a lot for a lot of people, and there are people out there breaking the rules, and then there are people who are following the rules, and yeah, and it's a mess. So anyway, I hope you guys all had a fantastic New Year's Eve, and the start to your new year is going really well. So last time I checked in with you, I was, excuse me, standing in my kitchen. Um, Telling you that I was not going home for Christmas, and that was a relatively last minute decision because of the COVID advisory that was issued in the state of Wisconsin. And then based on like where my mom lives and where I live, like we were both in high, I would say, I think we're less down here than where she's at, right? So they have the highest caseload in the entire state in the county my mom lives in, and we're probably not that far behind. And especially with this variant that is spreading very well. Like I know so many people right now that have COVID. Like it's crazy. Thankfully, the version they have is the Omicron, something, whatever, however we say that. And they're getting sick very, very quickly, but also getting better very quickly. So that has been, I guess, a positive thing. Is this a positive thing? I think it is. I think it is. And we're hopeful by the end of January, things will be kind of back down to the, below pandemic levels. So anyway, let me tell you about my Christmas experience because y'all are going to find this incredibly fascinating. And then we can make a comment about Foodie Beauty or whatever comes out of my mouth next. So anyway, I did not go home. But I did have plans to spend Christmas Eve, for part of the day with my best friend and my little nephew and his wife and her dad. My best friend's wife's dad was coming in from out of state, and we were going to go see a movie, and it was going to be amazing and all these things. So Christmas Eve, I drive to meet up with them. They do live in a different county, about an hour from here. Get there, get to the movie theater. Thank God this city has an indoor mask mandate, and you'll understand why when I get there. So we go and we watch the movie. Let me back up. So before that, I got a text from my friend's wife, and she was like, "Oh, by the way, my brother is here." And I was like, "Your brother?" Like, because her brother is the person that I know as her brother is older, married, and has children. And I was like, oh. And she's like, oh, it's my younger brother. And so I was like, you have a younger brother? How many years have I known you? And I did not know you had a younger brother. Well, her younger brother is from her dad's like second marriage. And so he is significantly younger. So we are all old enough to be his parents. Like that's how young this kid is. He's 18. Okay. So I was like, oh, okay. And she had asked me ahead of time, like she's like, hey, my dad's not vaccinated, does that bother you? I was like, it does not bother me. I do not care. I literally do not care what other people do with their bodies. It does not bother me. And so she had said that she had asked her dad to please take a test, before he got on the airplane, just because like you don't want to come here if you're not well. And then my best friend's stepfather ended up having open heart surgery like right after Thanksgiving. That was not expected. And obviously, you don't want to get the man who had heart surgery sick with COVID. Okay, wonderful. All right, here we are. So we watched the movie. It was adorable. It's Sing 2. So if you have kids, highly recommend. It's very cute. And then remember, indoor mask mandate. Okay, so I sat next to her brother. It's like he was on my left and my best friend was on my right. Whatever, for the whole movie, 2 hours. I didn't order anything to eat. It's one of those movie theaters where you can like order food and they bring it to you. It's pretty fancy. It was nice. I liked it. First time I've been in a movie theater since 2018, probably, maybe 2019. I took my mom, whenever the Downton Abbey movie came out, I took my mom to see Downton Abbey. Okay, so we leave the movie theater. My friend's wife and her brother and her dad and my nephew all go to do some things together. And my best friend and I decide, we're like, we'll go pick up the food, right, for Christmas Day. And so they had ordered some food and they had to pick it up by a certain time. So we actually went to Chipotle, had some lunch, and then went and picked up food for the next day. Go back to the house. Okay, so I'm at the house for like 10 hours. We watched church services online. Catherine was like, hey, you guys want to go to church? Like, the church is down the block. And I said, hey, I prefer not to, just because like this Omicron stuff, man, it's everywhere. Like, it's weird. It makes me uncomfortable. Like, because I don't want to get sick, right? And it's not like, I'm not afraid, but I don't want to get sick. I don't want to disrupt my life like that, right? And I don't shame anybody who has gotten it or, obviously millions of people have died from, COVID. Like, it's not whatever. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I sound like Foodie Beauty. You know what I mean, guys? So she's like, that's totally fine. Like, let's just live stream church services, whatever. I was like, okay, great. We do that. It was lovely, great music, whatever, all hanging out in the living room, whatever. Okay. My friend's wife and I, we bake cookies together in the kitchen, we're eating snacks, whatever. I do presents with my nephew. And then I leave around like 10 o'clock at night and come back to my house. So I was home by like 11:30 on Christmas Eve. Okay. Next morning, they had plans to meet up with my best friend's mom and her husband, right? Remember, this is the guy who had heart surgery. The rule was, though, that before my best friend's mom and stepdad came over, that everyone in the house would take a COVID test. Okay. So I wasn't there. You guys know that, right? We've already established that I was not there. Okay, so I got a Merry Christmas that morning from my best friend, and then a couple hours later, I got a phone call from him, which I thought was a little unusual because we had just seen each other, whatever. And I was like, well, hello. And he's like, hello. I'm like, Merry Christmas. He's like, how are you? I was like, I'm fine. How are you? And he's like, oh, I'm just dandy. And I was like, what's happening? And he's like, Catherine's brother tested positive for COVID. And I was like, son of a bitch. Like, and I probably said, actually, for fuck's sake, and I was outside, like standing in my driveway when this all happened because I had just taken recycling out. But I was just like, you got to be fucking kidding me. And I said, what happened to testing before we left the state we were coming from? And he's like, he never did. And I was like, oh, well, that's awesome. So the rule was, right, that before, and here's the deal. We did not know that, little brother was coming. It was a surprise. And so dad, who did, we knew was coming, did not make little brother get a COVID test. And it's entirely possible that they weren't able to get one because let's all face it, it is a fucking shit show right now with the testing. Okay, so, and I'll get to that. So I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And he's like, yeah. He's like, so, he's positive so far. Like, my nephew was negative. My nephew is only 4.5, so he is not eligible for a vaccine or shot. I don't like calling it a vaccine because that's not what it is. It's not an inoculation. So like it's, your COVID shot, he's not eligible. And he also has a heart condition. So he may never be able to get these shots, like, or until we know more about them and stuff. So And the reason why he has a heart condition is because he was born 10 and a half weeks early. And he's doing really well. Like, he's normal. Like, normal? I hate that. That sounded rude. Don't cancel me. Don't cancel me, please. But I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Because the rule was, right, listen, I'm a middle child, I'm a Sagittarius, you all know I'm like, fuck the rules, right? You all know that, right? But when someone asks me to do something and says, please, before you come, can you please take a COVID test? Of course I'm going to do it, and I'm going to show them the results. Like, it was just, it's, you have to have some level of personal responsibility when it comes to this stuff, right? You have to take precautions that you're comfortable with. You've got to, weigh the risks that you're comfortable with, like all the things, right? And I was like, and I told my friend, I was like, listen, I am not mad at little brother. I am mad at the situation because this could have been prevented. And understand too, like, this person he's 18, he's a senior in high school. Like, he, whatever, like, he probably got it at school. Like, I mean, who knows, right? So, okay. So you, all of that. So I was like, well, I should probably try to figure out where I can go get a test. So all of the over-the-counter tests in my entire city are sold out. You cannot buy them anywhere here. So I did go online and I ordered some. The tests have actually not arrived. They will not arrive until the 3rd. So that's Monday. And understand that this is on the 25th of December. So it's a lot, right? And so I started to look for testing sites. We have gotten rid of our drive-through testing sites. Like, you can go to Walgreens and set an appointment and drive through their drive-through, but to get an appointment at one of the pharmacies, it's like a week to 10 days scheduling out. So understand, this is Christmas Day. Okay. So then I looked at some of the test sites that are like, go, no appointment necessary, wait in line, get a test. The lines are like 6 to 8 hours long, and they're outside. And oftentimes they run out of tests. So I was like, oh my God. So I went up to one of them one morning, like on the because they tell you not to test for the first like 5 days, because unless you're symptomatic, you might not get a positive test, right? You could get a false negative, right? And so they tell you don't test, So I waited 5 days and I drove up one morning to one of the sites that's near here. Oh my God, the line was so long and the place wasn't even open yet. And it was probably a 4-hour wait at that point. And it was like 30 degrees. I was like, I am not standing out here. And especially because at that point on day 5, so let me back you guys up. So day 1 would have been Christmas Day, right? Exposure would have been on the 24th. Day 2 is the 26th. We get to the 27th. I have no symptoms as of the 27th. And I was like sitting here waiting for it to start because I figured there's no way I don't have COVID. Like, everyone in that house had essentially tested positive. So they had gone to a testing site, had PCR tests, because they live in a different county. Their access to testing is a little bit easier there because they simply just don't have as many people who need to be tested or who would like to be tested. So everyone in the house had got a positive PCR test, positive rapid result test, and was sick. So I was just waiting. I was sitting on my couch literally waiting to start having symptoms. So day 3 comes. This entire time I actually still continued to train. So I have a gym in my garage. So I was outside in my mittens and my sweatshirt and my hat online training with my class. Like, I called my coach and I told her on the 26th, or the 25th, I said, by the way, I was like, I got exposed to COVID. I'm going to do the online class as long as I feel well. Like, she's like, it'll be fine. We'll get through it. And then I found out a bunch of people in my gym had gotten exposed and a lot of them have COVID. So it was okay. I wasn't the only person online. So day 3 comes and nothing. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe it's like one more day and it'll start, right? And you feel disgusting when you've been exposed to COVID. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's actually been knowingly exposed twice in the last 2 years. This is my first time that I was ever knowingly exposed to someone with COVID. And so I just wanted to stand in the shower and like wash the COVID off me, and it was weird. Like, it was a very interesting psychological issue, problem, concern, a moment type deal. It was weird. So day 4, nothing. Day 5, nothing. And I was like, okay, so maybe I'm just one of those weird people like unicorns who happens to be asymptomatic. Because again, remember, everyone in that house is sick. Everyone I was with is sick. And so I still can't find a test. I still can't get an appointment to get a test. Like, we're still scheduling out like an entire week. And I was like, well, I suppose though, because then the CDC changed the guidelines. They said after exposure, it's a 5-day quarantine, not a 10. If you're asymptomatic and you test positive, you just have to wear a mask. Like, you don't have to stay home. Like, all the things are changing, right, during this time frame. So a friend of mine, my bestie, who has a condo here, and you guys have heard me talk about her before. Her name is Sarah. She had mentioned at one point that she had bought some tests for her kids because if they have exposure at school, they have to test negative to go back, and she just thought it would be good to have some on hand. So I texted her and I said, any chance you still got that COVID test? And she's like, I do. And I was like, can you bring it to me? Because I cannot find anywhere to get a test, like, without it being like a week later, right? So she's like, do you have symptoms yet? And I said, no. And she's like, okay. She's like, well, I'll be there tomorrow. So this would have been day 6. And so I literally just, went on with my life. Like, I didn't go anywhere. I just went and trained in the garage and hung out with Kitty and waited for COVID symptoms to start. And day 6 comes and goes, and the test shows up. She dropped it at my door. It was like a drug deal. It was fantastic. And I took my test, and it was negative. And I was like, I cannot believe that I have dodged this bullet. And so I will take another test probably on Monday or tomorrow. I could probably do it tomorrow just to be 100% sure, but I have no symptoms. I feel good. I went to CrossFit yesterday. Like, I don't know how I got so lucky. And it's not that I did anything right. It's just that I got lucky. And so I think what the difference was for me is my time of exposure. I was with them for almost like half a day, part of that time though, like 2 hours or so, I was wearing a mask, and as was the person who tested, little brother who had tested positive. So I think that if I would have been there and stayed overnight, I think this would have had a very different outcome, right? Just from an exposure perspective. I also, although I know it doesn't really matter, I also just got my booster shot, and that was on the 10th of December. And this was the 24th. So you're talking 2 weeks, right? And I'm just wondering if that helped maybe a tiny, tiny bit, like, but still, like, there was not even one dead COVID particle in my nose that the Q-tip found. So that's good. So I avoided getting COVID for Christmas. Again, extremely lucky. It's not about doing things right. And I think that's an important message, is that if you have gotten this far and you have not been infected with either the first variant, the second variant, or this variant, it's not like a moral superiority thing. It is just, you simply have been lucky. And so I have been incredibly lucky. So, and that's how I feel right now. So yeah, so that was how I spent my Christmas. And let me tell you, it was nothing short of like complete coincidence, but also very good that I did not stay over there and then drive home the next day. Because if I would have drove home, like home to see my mom, chances are I would have ended up testing positive. I would have exposed my mom. I would have exposed my grandma. I would have exposed my brother. Like, it could have been terrible. So it all worked out in the end. But that was my Christmas COVID story. So, words of advice. Even with tests, there's no guarantee, because you can test negative and just it hasn't been long enough for exposure. So wait 5 days if you think you've been exposed or you have to go somewhere. Build in that 5-day window to get your test done either at a center or at home. Get your rapid test. Because if you test too early, chances are you will get a false negative. And that's what happened with my nephew, because they swabbed him after Aiden tested positive, right? And he was still negative, but he tested positive like 2 days later. So like, just make sure that you wait the required time. Wear a mask if you want to. I think that's probably a lot of what probably saved me, was that even though I was sitting right next to him for hours, like that he had a mask on and so did I. So I think that probably is the differentiator. And I was not sitting like on top of him, right? During dinner and whatnot. But yeah, so just take the precautions that you're comfortable with. Talk to your doctor, whatever it is you need to do. And again, like if people get COVID, it doesn't mean that they've done something wrong, right? Lots of people get COVID, and this variant is very contagious, but it's very quick moving, and so that's a positive thing. But don't be a judgmental asshole. Like that's my point. So anyway, other than that, things are going pretty good. I'm going to have my dining room painted. So that will be done here sometime in the month of January. I had the painter come in and do an estimate. I'm really, really excited about it. So I will do some before and after so you guys can see that. And that's about it. I ripped the carpet up in the bedroom. I've told you guys that. Very excited about that. The painting in the dining room. Yeah, and that's about it. Other than that, things are going good. If you guys have been watching Foodie Beauty, you know that it's been an absolute shit show for the last week. I have my own opinions about it. I think that most of what we are seeing, right, is entirely scripted. I think it's planned. I think that it's not like, I shouldn't say that. Like, do I think that all of it is planned and scripted? No. But I think that once all three of the players involved, right? So James / Pete's, Nader, and Foodie realize that it is an absolute cash grab, that they just go with it, right? And they just continue to, push, the crazy to the next level, right? So people will super chat them and they'll have views and all this stuff. Now, there are some things though that I feel like really cross the line, with Foodie, and for cash or not, like, and I know that other creators, like, I'm not even a creator. I'm just a girl standing in my kitchen talking about CrossFit, trying to lose 15 pounds and, do the thing, right? But if she was a man, she probably would have been arrested, maybe spent a night in jail for some of the stuff that she was doing. So, but just remember that, like, just remember this is fake. Like, she was there last night. She was back at his house, it's all phony. It's all fake bullshit, and so the cycle will now start over, where she's going to say, I'm keeping my relationship private. We're not discussing things. We're working on things behind the scenes. So we're going to start this arc again. Right. And she's also trying to start like this little redemption arc too. You can tell where she's like, oh, I have apologies to make and I want to give back, to my Beezers and all this bullshit. And I'm like, bitch, please, so she's trying to start that, and she's trying to make people forget like what the previous 5 days was all about. Right. And so it's interesting. It's an interesting train wreck to watch. So, but it can also be incredibly like disgusting. And so like yesterday, I watched via Pulpy Syntax, and she was talking about how, watching a video of Saddam Hussein being, hung was so sad to her. I was like, that right there, my friend, is absolutely language. Those are the words of Nader coming out of her mouth. And so she has, suddenly has all these opinions on, things like that. And so I'm sorry, but the man was an absolute fucking psycho who killed millions of people. Like, and you feel, wait, what? Like, she doesn't even know what she's saying, right? So just keep that in mind as you watch that content. And I highly recommend watching it through reaction channels. Do not give her the views. I mean, it's up to you. But Pulpy does a great job, reacting. DC Media does a great job. Milk Tea does a great job. I do like Milk Tea's, I love Pulpy, don't get me wrong. Love the live streams and stuff, but I can't always catch the live streams because he's in Australia. So sometimes they're the middle of the night here, but Milk Tea does videos, which is really nice. So, and she can kind of condense them down, and is, can share and be positive about it. I don't know if you can be positive about it, but anyway, so, that's what while I was quarantining because of my COVID exposure, waiting to have a test, that's really what I did for an entire week as I watched that train wreck. And so, but just as a reminder, it's fake. Like, the initial, I think, reaction that you see is not always fake, but once there is a realization that this is going to result in massive amounts of cash coming in, then it gets drug out. Like the drama gets like increased and, there's more and more and more and more and more, on camera and, because it results in something she needs, right? Which is money. And, yeah, please don't super chat that woman. Please do not join her membership. I say that as though I speak with any authority. I would say this: I would never do it, right? And so, um, yeah. But those are my little thoughts on that. But anyway, thank you so much for coming to my kitchen. I need to spend more time planning out maybe some real content. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do with this channel, right? Like, obviously, I'm getting my new nutrition plan next week, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I want to take that more seriously, and show you guys progress and different things that are happening. So I think that will be a mainstay there. Um, but yeah, I want to see what I can do with this little tiny channel with 19 followers who I love, and I think two of them are me, so it's really only 17. So anyway, I hope you guys have a fantastic new year. Please be careful out there. Please make good decisions. Please assess your risk tolerance, especially with COVID. It's okay to stay home. It's okay to tell people, you know what, not this time, whatever. Um, Wear a mask if you want to. Um, be nice to people. Don't judge anybody if they get COVID. It's not a morality thing. It's a virus. It's going to do what it's going to do. I got incredibly lucky, that I didn't get it when I was in a house full of people who had it and didn't know they had it. So just be safe and be smart. And if you need anything, you can reach out to me. My DMs are open. I'm happy to talk to you. So, yeah, anyway, have a great day. Happy New Year, guys. And I will see you again soon. Bye.